In this SolidWorks for Creo users video, we will take a look at turning off some of the information in the SolidWorks version of the model tree. I've started an assembly. If you take a look at the top node, the default name of the assembly is Assemb1. You change the name when you save the assembly, and I've brought in a bunch of my different components. I'm going to add mates later on in order to locate them in the assembly. But if you take a look at the names of the components in the assembly, there's a lot of information here. And sometimes this is too much clutter for people, especially if you're coming over from another CAD package and you're not used to seeing all this stuff. And when you take a look at it, most of it is the same. There's a lot of default in there and a lot of display state 1. So let's talk about the information that we have. And I'm concentrating on the information after the name of the component. Before the name of the component, we have an F if something is fixed. We have the dash in parentheses if something is under constraint. That little blue M in the ring that looks sort of like a gear, that indicates that this was created, or those models were saved in the SolidWorks for Makers version. But anyhow, I want to turn off the information back here in the names of the components. The way that you do that is by right-clicking on the top node in the tree, and you're going to get a right mouse button menu, just like you get in Creo Parametric. You want to go down to the control for tree display. And there's a flyout, there's a bunch of different choices. You can see that some options are turned on, like show feature names, show comment indicator, and view features. But for what we want to do, let's go to component name and description. And by the way, I want to point out that the location of this command is definitely different if you are used to Creo Parametric. You're probably used to some buttons above the model tree in order to control what's displayed. But here in SolidWorks, we are right-clicking on the name of the assembly, and in the flyout menu, we are going to the to tree display, and now we're going to go to component name and description. And so this opens up a dialog box, and there's actually 3 different pieces of information that are being displayed and that you can control. Right now, the name of the component is the first thing being displayed, but you could actually change that to something else. You have radio buttons if you want to change that to physical product title or component description or enterprise item number. And the other information is optional. So in parentheses, that's the secondary description, I guess you can call it. You have the configuration name, and that's what it's saying here with default in parentheses. And so the configuration name, that's somewhat like family table instances in Creo Parametric with configurations in a part file or an assembly file. You can have different dimensions, different features, different materials, or for an assembly, you can have different components or different component locations. So right now we are showing the configuration name. If we don't want to display that, we can uncheck it. You could check some other different items that you want to display instead. A lot of these different choices are the same as what you have in primary if you want to see that information as well. And then for the information in brackets, right now it's showing the display state name. And so here you can see the display state name as default, display state 1. And display states in SolidWorks generally do the same thing as display states in Creo Parametric. They allow you to control the display of individual components, like if they're showing up in wireframe and the rest of the assembly isn't shaded, and that sort of stuff. But again, I'm trying to unclutter my feature manager design tree. That's what SolidWorks calls their version of the model tree. A lot of times I just call it the design tree. So I'm going to uncheck this. And there is another option in here. Do not show configuration or display state name if only one exists. There's only one instance of the component. It will not show that information. You can check this if you want, but I have turned that stuff off manually. And you could click apply if you want to. If you don't want to implement those changes, you can cancel, but I'm going to click OK. And that has made everything much less cluttered. By the way, you have a number also in brackets here. In SolidWorks, they show you the instance number of the component. And so let's say I had two of this component in my assembly. The first one would have a 1 and the next one would have a 2. So you can see, again, the order that that particular component appears in your design tree in SolidWorks. But anyhow, that's how you can control the display of that extra information in your design tree in SolidWorks.